Can we recreate one of the world's most famous boulevards while incorporating iconic French landmarks? We are creating a Parisian-themed city featuring medieval cobblestone alleys alongside modern urban life. The massive French roundabout, known today as Place Charles de Gaulle, is at the center of our build. Historically, it was called L'Étoile, or the Star. 12 boulevards converge at this remarkable junction with the Arc de Triomphe at its center. One of those boulevards is the famous commercial and tourist destination known as the Champs-Élysées. We will begin to build this boulevard today and explore how to creatively use surfaces in city skylines too. For this episode, we will begin the 3rd and 4th Arrondissement, 2 new administrative districts, and we will add another 20,000 residents. My name is College Builder. If you are enjoying this Parisian-inspired series, please share a comment and leave a like so I know how I'm doing. When we left off in the previous episode, we had just completed the 1st and 2nd Arrondissement, bringing our population to 30,000. Our aim is to make each arrondissement distinctive, so let's start today by placing Notre Dame Cathedral in our 3rd district. Keep in mind, we are not actually recreating Paris. We are playing on Mr. Miyagi's map of Nantes. Our fictional French city is named Ile du Carrefour, which translates to Crossroads Island. We are drawing much inspiration from Paris for our design, such as our massive roundabout, but we are also exercising our creative freedom. For example, in real life, Notre Dame is located on an island in the middle of the Seine River. However, we are positioning our cathedral in the heart of the city. Let's stop these reckless U-turns in the middle of our custom avenue. Cars should not be allowed to make a U-turn from one parking lane to the other. For our cathedral, let's enhance the surrounding park area. We don't need each side to mirror the other, since an asymmetrical park adds a pleasing aesthetic detail. We will create some open grassy areas beside the cathedral. We will then use a cobblestone surface to surround it. I believe these cobblestones are from the Real Vision decals and surfaces pack, which I found through Sully's Discord server. Next, let's add some tree grates with the advanced line tool mod. We will put a row of grates down each side. I like how the oak trees look for our little plaza, since the trees fill in the area and complement the foliage on the Notre Dame asset. Finally, we will add some cultivated flowers from the base game to enhance the grass areas. It was amazing to watch Notre Dame being restored the last few years after the devastating fire. This cathedral serves as the ideal landmark for Ile du Carrefour. As more assets are released for the game, I hope we receive some additional Parisian tourist attractions. While we start the 3rd arrondissement in our fictional city, it's clear that the cathedral will dominate the skyline in this area. It should also provide plenty of leisure activity for our citizens. Let's continue connecting the road network around the cathedral. Alleys function as narrow local streets. Regular roads are meant to carry more traffic and, in some cases, function as collectors. Pedestrian-only streets surround the small plaza directly in front of the cathedral, ensuring that traffic does not disturb all the tourist onlookers. What else would you want to see in this little plaza? As more visitors and residents arrive, we should make sure this new arrondissement and the cathedral are linked to our bus network. We will place a small bus station on this side of town. Like the ones we established in the 1st and 2nd arrondissement, we will set up 2 bus lines with external connections to bring in citizens more efficiently. Let's name our outside connections with French city names. These outside routes are crucial because they will significantly alleviate traffic from residents moving into town. These new routes are now in use almost immediately, and tourists are already flocking to the cathedral. Now that our cathedral is set up, we can focus on the rest of the 3rd arrondissement and part of the 4th. We must establish our basic road infrastructure for these areas and evaluate what additional services we should develop. In the last episode, we successfully built a neighborhood center featuring a small roundabout with 5 radiating alleys. We can do something similar here. In implementing our new road structure, we want to continue to use the wide avenues as our primary collectors and arterials. The narrow alleys should really be local streets rather than shortcuts. To help create this, we will minimize the number of roads that intersect our avenues. Let's also begin to think about wide open green spaces we want to build, perhaps something around the French City Hall. The first two arrondissements are densely built with just a few small parks. The cathedral presents a chance for a much larger green space, and I believe the City Hall could serve an even larger one, similar to the Luxembourg Gardens. We won't fully understand the traffic patterns until this is completed, but we do know that we should expand our bus network along the main avenues. Let's place stops in the center of the avenue, including directly in front of the cathedral. We will also add stops around the massive roundabout to help keep people moving. I wish a bus stop could be placed on the median without having to remove the grass, but I suppose passengers need a place to walk. We'll draw out the bus line, starting with our new bus station. Let's give the line a unique color. Before we place new residential and commercial buildings, let's evaluate our school capacity. It seems we need a lot of space for elementary school children, but we could also use some for college students. Adding one French and one German elementary school should greatly enhance capacity, but we will need to monitor it closely. Let's also add a French fire station to this side of town. Once the buildings are completed, we don't want these districts to be left without coverage. And now we see a power bottleneck around our transformer station. This issue can be easily resolved by adding a second French electrical substation and branching off our underground high-voltage lines. Returning to our bus network, let's add stops along the Champs-Élysées, which is about to become very busy. We will make a stop at every intersection as it approaches the large roundabout. This line will extend towards the cathedral, moving in the opposite direction of our initial line. You will notice I never place bus stops directly across from each other. Bus lines traveling in opposite directions often have stops located at diagonal corners rather than directly across from each other. With that, I believe our basic infrastructure is complete, and we can start adding new residents. While our cathedral is located in the 3rd arrondissement, we will begin today's build in the 4th. The cathedral stands on the border, and we aim to have the area directly in front of it filled in. Let's position some large office buildings along the avenues and roads in the area while our demand lasts. We can then position mixed-use buildings along the main roads and build medium-density residences and low-rent apartments in the alleyways. This avenue in front of the cathedral is magnificent, and we want the buildings here to appear striking. Living and working close to this monument ought to feel prestigious, although I'm sure the residents get annoyed with all the tourists. Fortunately, we have a great assortment of assets in the French Region Pack, and I love how they look as we fill in this area. I must be honest, by the time I reached this point in the build, I was losing motivation. I started this project in November 2024 when I recorded most of episode 1 and part of episode 2. All I wanted to do was create the massive roundabout. I never imagined this experiment would become so large. When I recorded this episode in January 2025, I was rushing to get things done before my surgery, so I began scattering buildings throughout the district instead of working methodically from where the last build had ended. Somewhere along the way, I found my motivation again. If I could do it over, I would focus this episode entirely on the 3rd arrondissement. But c'est la vie, and this is the episode I have. I want to thank all of you for your support over the past few months during my surgery and the challenging recovery. You have genuinely helped me stay motivated, and I am incredibly thankful to continue with this series. Unfortunately, my recording software malfunctioned for at least an hour during my build. You will notice that much of the 4th arrondissement in front of the cathedral is now filled in. Residents are arriving, and even the 2 small roundabout plazas are almost finished. This was incredibly frustrating and a hard lesson to learn, but our best option is to press forward. We will now focus on the challenging area with the curved road near the roundabout in both the 3rd and 4th districts. Let's maintain our familiar approach of locating offices and mixed-use buildings along roads and avenues, while reserving medium residential and low-rent buildings for the alleys. One significant change since we began this build is that we have become less concerned about how perfectly buildings align with the roads. However, we will notice more green grass around the buildings with that change. Let's delete the small surfaces that connect some buildings. We achieve a more cohesive look by extending a single surface across this area. However, we should avoid dragging the surface through the center to maintain the open green courtyards. Let's use one of the cobblestone surfaces from the Real Vision pack for the next block. The cobblestone helps show that this is an area with history. We've added over 8,000 residents to the 4th arrondissement, and it appears our citizens are pretty happy. We'll continue working on the curved blocks close to the roundabout. We are now approaching the Champs-Élysées, which will require special attention. A quick check of our data reveals that we need more elementary school capacity. Let's place one of the German schools near our cathedral. We've spotted a problem on the Champs-Élysées. We have a very long bus lane that has eliminated parking. We can double-click with a row to add a node, thereby shortening the length of the bus lane. All these alleys intersecting the boulevard add unnecessary congestion. Using the lane connector tool, we can eliminate U-turns and prevent left-hand turns. This will help maintain our alleys as local streets and redirect more vehicles towards our collectors. After slowly starting this district, we are now beginning to make progress. It's much more effective to focus on one block at a time instead of trying to work on multiple blocks at once. Since most of our build has taken place on larger roads, job demand appears to have weakened. We need more medium and low-rent residential buildings. This small block helps with that. Let's add a cobblestone surface to bring everything together. We've made significant progress, but, like me, you might feel that this all seems a bit repetitive. We need to mix things up, and now is a great time to do that. For this episode, I want to achieve 2 goals: construct the cathedral and focus on the Grand Boulevard, which serves as our main access leading into the roundabout. We built the cathedral, so enough delays. It's time to get started on the Champs-Élysées. This boulevard will be our major commercial destination for Ile de Carrefour. Although we are building a fictional city, we want our version of Champs-Élysées to be wide and convey the grandeur of Paris. To get started, we will place the German department store. This signature building is somewhat out of scale for our city, but its large footprint reminds me of some of the grand department stores in Paris, and it adds substantial weight to our commercial strip. As a signature building, it contributes significantly to the city's appeal, leisure, and well-being, hopefully attracting many tourists. What stands out to me about the Champs-Élysées is the width of its sidewalks. We will achieve this by turning snapping off and pulling the buildings back from the road as much as possible. This gives the impression of a spacious pedestrian area. Fortunately, El Guindo 87 has released a collection of French-inspired surfaces, including several that can be found on the real-life Champs-Élysées. We will incorporate this around our German department store and replace the pavement we unintentionally removed in the back. Our construction has left the back of the store rather exposed and disconnected from the other buildings. We could have done this better, but for now, we'll just fill in the block behind it. The rear of the department store is used for loading merchandise, making the presence of an alley here quite beneficial. As this triangle-shaped block comes together, the department store looks less out of place. Let's complete this area before we return to the commercial boulevard. We will keep using our cobblestone surface by El Guindo to fill in the empty grass. For me, it's always interesting to think about the history of a neighborhood. For instance, why has one neighborhood preserved the historic sidewalks while others have upgraded to something more contemporary? Maybe our Champs-Élysées gets all the attention as a tourist destination, but the block right behind it still holds its local charm. We should consider these small differences and understand why one detail is contrasted with another. Doing so helps bring our city to life and reveals layers of history. It can also help us with our design choices. Let's return to the Champs-Élysées, considering this juxtaposition of history and modernity. We will continue placing buildings, but keeping them pulled back from the boulevard to create our wide pedestrian promenade. With so many tourists, it is no surprise that this commercial center continues undergoing redevelopment, introducing modern storefronts. During my visits to Paris this past year, I noticed new stores being constructed on this boulevard. We want to convey that sense of a thriving shopping area. In this block, let's remove all the small surface segments that appear beneath some of the buildings. We'll then use another El Guindo French surface to create our wide sidewalk. Our Champs-Élysées is looking lovely. We've already included numerous surfaces in this episode, from historic cobblestones to modern tiles and pavement, so I believe it's worth taking a moment to focus on our detailing. Most of you probably realize by now that you can remove or extend an existing surface on an asset without impacting its road connection. This provides us with significant flexibility to create a Parisian-inspired look and to prevent the monotony of endless dull pavement. Of course, adding unique surfaces is not enough to create city charm. We should also include small details like tree grates and suitably themed trees. Paying attention to small details can make all the difference in your city. For example, here is another place where alleys intersect our avenue. Using the lane connector tool, we can eliminate left-hand turns and cross traffic from the alleys. This will help prioritize traffic flow on the avenue. Details like lane management tend to hide in the background unless traffic becomes backed up. In a city like Ile-de-Carrefour, our surfaces and trees tend to stand out more. At times, it's easy to just extend the surface that comes with the building, as we are doing with this police station. However, in many cases, I prefer to add the cobblestones to evoke a sense of history. We do not want to skip the details whichever way we decide to go. Bare grass peeks through at the edge, standing out and creating the impression that something isn't exactly right. In our first two arrondissements, we filled some open spots, but there is still much that we need to address, particularly around the central roundabout. As we receive more expansions for City Skylines 2, I am confident we will get additional props to enhance detailing. Meanwhile, adding benches, fountains, surfaces, and trees is our primary approach. The details in today's build have been outstanding, and I believe the city looks magnificent. Let's improve a few more intersections. This one is tricky because we have two alleys and a regular road coming together. Given the complication, let's just remove all left-hand turns and simplify the flow. With over 47,000 residents in our city, let's hope these intersection improvements will reduce traffic and prevent our streets from getting backed up. Although we will not complete the third and fourth arrondissement today, there is still much to do. We have another triangular block that can be filled in, with residential development along the alley and mixed use along the main road. Let's just delete some overlapping fences. By keeping snapping off, we can place these buildings with credibility despite the challenging corners. This block looks rather good, but again, we have a power bottleneck at one of our electrical substations. We have one station in the first district and another in the third. Therefore, let's locate the new substation in the fourth district to maintain an even distribution of our power connections. Returning to our newly created block, let's fill in the empty grass corners with our cobblestone surface. We will do the same along the building fronts wherever necessary. Our goal is to create an urban landscape where the buildings and the larger city feel integrated together. We will continue our detailing by adding tree grates and trees to some of the corners. Paris is a city filled with trees. We haven't spent much time detailing the streets yet, but more of that is on the way. All of our avenues and boulevards will need to be lined with trees, and we will create additional parks in the next episode. For now, we can concentrate on these 4 vacant blocks between the Champs-Élysées and our cathedral. Most of these are alleys that will be filled with residential zones. However, our medium and high-density residential demand seems to be depleted quite rapidly. We'll even things out by constructing more offices along the Champs-Élysées. More jobs will help us stimulate residential demand. The offices may be less exciting for a commercial strip, but they will contribute to our goal. With residential demand returning, let's keep developing apartment buildings and mixed-use spaces in this area. The blocks have been beautifully transformed, adding charm to the third arrondissement. However, with so many residents, we need to monitor the traffic. Let's hope our intersection updates have been effective. We can fill this small gap next to our elementary school. Let's make it appear as though everything fits seamlessly together. I love using these French assets. Although they can feel repetitive at times, I still find it pleasantly surprising when I encounter one that I haven't used very often. I hope we receive another French pack in the future, or that French assets are made available on Paradox Mods once the asset editor is released. Let's incorporate another distinctive surface into this block. This surface comes from Algendo's collection and is specifically located on the Champs-Élysées. Cobblestones will be ideal for the small corners in our residential alleys. I can easily imagine walking these streets, sitting at a cafe for a coffee, and enjoying a leisurely afternoon in the city. However, it seems we have a traffic nightmare on our hands. Pedestrians and vehicles have congested this intersection near the German department store. Let's remove U-turns causing problems and add a dedicated pedestrian phase at the traffic light. We should also add an asymmetrical road to keep cars from backing up. Finally, let's make sure we have dedicated turning lanes wherever possible and allow for easy right turns on red. Given all these improvements, I anticipate that road congestion will rapidly decrease. Demand is strong across all zone categories, so let's keep placing buildings in this block. I love these triangular shapes and the challenge of fitting buildings with 90-degree corners into them. The Move It mod is absolutely crucial for this to happen, as is the ability to manipulate surfaces and fill in the gaps. There are so many wonderful surface textures now available on Paradox Mods. I feel that I am still missing many options. If you have some you love that would fit into our city, please let me know. Let's add a little pocket park in this corner, offering a bench for pedestrians to sit on. We can enhance the park by adding tree grates and planting some trees to provide shade. Finally, let's use one last surface for the remaining empty corner on this block. While I would have preferred to focus on a single arrondissement in this episode, I am happy with how it turned out. I enjoyed being creative with such a variety of surfaces. Constructing our cathedral brought a dramatic flair to our skyline, rivaled only by the towers of the German department store. Although I lost some great footage, I believe we were still able to appreciate the beautiful results in the 3rd and 4th districts. Thank you for all your wonderful comments on my last episode. I have heard your calls for more green space and to build the Parisian metro system. The next few episodes were recorded back in January, but I'm already considering what might come next. If you are enjoying this series, it would mean a lot to me if you could give this video a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. If you're interested in more content, check out the additional videos on my YouTube channel.